Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Collegiate Star League's Fall Hearthstone season. Of course, brought to you by Blizzard and Twitch. Once again, I am Nomo Dogan, and of course, here with me is Lucia.
Alright, so just a quick update. It looks like the top two teams of each division does make it through to the playoffs, which means that NYU versus Columbia, NYU winning that game cinched their spot into the playoffs. Them and St. John's University will be making it through. The two teams that will be up right now, we have the Robert Morrison University and University of Wisconsin-Madison Tempo Dorm. Both those schools will not be making it to playoffs, but like I said before, they are tied at 1-2, so this will be a game of honor for these two schools.
I mean, I definitely appreciate the name of the team from University of Wisconsin, Tempo Dorm. I like it. Might be a like slight rip-off of another team name out there somewhere, but I like Tempo Dorm. You know, like
it's very appropriate, right, for a university. So it's got Hearthstone in it. It's got a pun in it. You know, it's got everything you need for a good team name.
I wonder if they advertise like become legendary at their school, University of Wisconsin. Like they have like signs everywhere for Tempo Dorm. But yeah, I can definitely appreciate it. We'll see what they have to bring to the table here. Probably gonna see some more Paladin, some more Mage, and what was the other class that's super popular? Paladin, Mage, and Druid. Yep. Those are like the three most popular classes right now, I believe, along with Warrior and Warlock. Those classes are definitely up there. Hunter, of course, can't forget that. But those are some of the most popular. Still see some priests around, especially Dragon Priests and stuff like that. So yeah, looks like we're gonna have Zerk versus Dorman once they get in game. Dorman representing Tempo Dorm, and Zerk representing RMU. We'll see if these Tempo Dorm players are in fact legendary. I wonder if they'll have the legend card back when they're going to be playing tonight. That should be interesting. If all of them have it, I mean, I would definitely want to join the club, right? Because I want to become legendary.
Yeah. Oh, they should set up a booth in their school, and I'll just wear like a cardboard sign with the legendary card back printed on it. You know, like those billboards that they make people wear, where they have one board on each side, like tied together by a string on their shoulders. And then on the back you put the legendary card back, and then the front, you know, you can put your favorite card on there.
I like it. I like it.
Genius.
Yeah, I might have actually been legend a few times before, but you know, I'm not on Tempo Dorm, man. Maybe I don't deserve it. So. But it does look like the players are in game. We'll see what classes we've got here.
Oh, Hunter! How can we forget about Hunter?
I actually did mention it. I was like, how are we forgetting two? I was like, yeah, Hunter. Good stuff though. As Zerg has brought Hunter. I wonder if his name is influenced by Zerg. You know, bringing Hunter first up. Like, I don't know.
It looks like a very face Hunter, so I like it. You get the coin double 1-drops. It's definitely very nice.
I mean, I don't play a whole lot of StarCraft, but I've heard Zerg usually likes to rush. So,
I wouldn't say. I haven't followed StarCraft in a long time, to be fair, but I don't think Zerg is really more of a rush race than others. But they are known for playing a lot of small creatures, so having a lot of 1-drops. Wow, not coining out the second Leper Gnome. I'm very surprised about this.
Looks like I'm gonna have to respectate this because there's some.
Do you remember what secret it was?
I do not. I'll have that for you in a moment.
University of Wisconsin.
What it drew for the second turn?
Yeah, has a pretty sick logo there. Has a very grumpy looking badger wearing a red sweater.
That is, in fact, a noble sacrifice up for Dorman, as he put the Shielded Minibot into play. Looks like Zerk is going to coin this turn. Throws down his Argent Horse Rider. We see a couple Divine Shield minions in play now. Takes out the noble sacrifice. Looks like he saw that coming from a mile away and wanted to deal with that just with his Divine Shield.
Yeah, but without him having that in his hand, it wasn't like he planned to do this, so...
Yeah.
I honestly would have liked the Leper Gnome. You know, when you're playing as the aggro deck, you want to use your coin for, you know, a 2/2/3, right, or a 1/3/3, something like that. You want it to be used as soon as possible, whereas a control deck, you might save the coin, you know, for an earlier turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, or even to just have 11 mana to do some crazy stuff, like having... Lay on Hands or Tyrion plus an Eldor or plus a BGH, something like that. But in this case, I think, you know, of course he would have lost one of his Leper Gnomes, but I think it would have still been worth it, especially not knowing he would have drawn the Argent Horse Rider.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Definitely want to have those aggressive starts from the aggro deck, but start going with something a little different. I think it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. He's got South Sea Deckhand in his deck, which is something to be noted. I mean, it's not an every face hunter deck. He probably has double Glaive Zuka, double Igorn Bow, which is pretty popular. But South Sea Deckhand is not something you see a ton. Now, did Dorman play anything this turn? On my client, it shows that he roped. Maybe he...
No, Dorman did not, in fact, do anything. Which is surprising because, you know, at least he would hero power or play the Haunted Creeper. Okay, looks like he is back, says that was a mistake.
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
The fast rope comes into play.
Oh my god.
Alright, looks like you might have had a connection issue for a second there. Things a bit out of order.
That was, yeah, that was a full-on panic turn there.
Yeah. That was unfortunate.
Wonder what was happening to him. He had the time to emote, that was a mistake, you know?
Yeah, and then he played a Secret Keeper out of order. I'm not sure.
I think at that point he's just like clicking anything in his inventory and just trying to drag it out, you know? It's like, okay, at least I should do something this turn.
Yeah. Yeah, we do see double Leper Gnome, double Mad Scientist in play for Zerk.
Fun fact, Redemption doesn't do anything when your opponent doesn't kill your creatures.
Yeah, that is true. Same with Avenge. So, you know, those kind of secrets sometimes don't come into play in these aggressive matchups.
And unfortunately, no free trade there for the second Secret Keeper. Looks like he's gonna actually choose to kill off 2 Leper Gnomes. Maybe. Alright, we'll indeed do that. Killing off 2 Leper Gnomes instead of killing off the 2 Scientists. And got his Haunted Creepers in play here. The Unleash the Hound this turn, though.
Yeah, Unleash could be pretty strong. I mean, he could take out a Haunted Creeper if he wants to, but I think at this point, you know, you got your opponent so low, you know what the secret is, or you know it's Avenge or Redemption, so you don't really want to deal with it. And you could just Unleash Hero Power and go face. And you've got quick shot for a lot of damage next turn. Force your
Although,
opponent to
yeah, I mean, he could hit the Haunted Creeper and get 3 things, right? Well, unless it was Avenge, which would be bad, so... With his opponent at 5 health, I think he's okay.
Yeah.
Unless his opponent has a Tuskar Jouster. He's basically dead next turn with that quick shot. And hero power, so that is it. A bit of an unfortunate start here for the
Secret Paladin?
University of Wisconsin for Dorman. Dorman is dormant and sleeping, unfortunately. AFK'd in his game.
Yeah, but that was a really strong start from Zerk nonetheless. I'm not sure Dorman would have won that game anyway. That was so much damage, plus the explosive trap and a quick shot on top of that, if anything else was going wrong. So
that is fair.
Yeah.
Looks like we've got Zucchini versus Darth Nader coming up next. These people with their punny names. Not really punny, just, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some interesting names. Zucchini. I mean, I would think that's inspired by Zucchini. And Darth Nader, probably inspired by Darth Vader. I would guess the guy's name is like Nathan, and most people call him Nate, you know. Call me crazy, but it seems like
I like that theory.
We're like inspired by that, but yeah.
Looks like we are in game. Oh wow, oh no. Okay, we are on, yeah, the game's just started. It just seemed like there was a lot more happening. Like the guy had a lot more cards, but there was just a coin. So, Zucchini with the first Darnassus. And the Wrath will be able to take out his opponent's Darnassus. Pretty good value there. It's sort of interesting, right? Because you didn't need the coin there necessarily for, you know, you're floating an extra mana. But obviously you wanted the Darnassus out as soon as possible and being able to Wrath your opponent's Darnassus the next turn. But Darth Nader with the turn 3 Fel Reaver with his Innervate. And he's got the other Fel Reaver in hand as well, so will Darth Nader choose to go full Fel Reaver? Or will he just hang out, chill, like we saw in the Is versus Ken... What was his name? It's like...
Can't remember. Kenstay?
Kenstay, yes, you are right.
Yeah. Familiar here, of course. Fel Reaver's beating down on another Druid who doesn't have Fel Reavers, and no BGH to be seen. Seems like this game might come to the same conclusion that that one earlier did.
Yeah, although Zucchini in this does have a better hand, you know, it's not just like a whole bunch of Innervates and nothing else. And being able to deal with that first Fel Reaver pretty easily as well. Yep.
First Fel Reaver dealt with, he has also got a decent board left, and Darnassus Aspirant in play as well to keep the mana up.
There is no chance for Darth Nader to go Fel Reaver, as his first Fel Reaver died the first turn that it was played.
Ooh, sorry about that. Coming out from Zucchini, the emote metagame is really
strong with these players.
Yeah, I mean, has Darth Nader emoted yet?
Not that we've seen, but maybe before we got into the game, you know, he was like, all right, these casters aren't here, I'm going to be really rude to my opponent, and then...
I mean, he's also Golden Druid, so he's got the right... We saw this earlier, the non-Golden Druid emoted, and the Golden one did not respond, so...
that is true.
Possibly a common trend amongst Druids everywhere.
Yes. It's a secret Druid society.
For Golden Druids, yeah. And we also saw the non-Golden Druid beat the Golden Druid. Ooh, nature will rise against you. Darth Nader.
Looks like Darth Nader unable to contain his
rage.
anger and rage.
I mean, he has Malfurion Storm Rage, so
that is true.
It's understandable. Shade of Naxxramas did come out as stealth last turn and hit for 4. Another Shade of Naxxramas could possibly come down here, but he's got to be afraid of another swipe. You've seen one, but this Drake in play is really scary.
He's got 15 damage with the Savage plus the Leper Gnome. I don't think there's any way for Zucchini to deal... with Savage combo, that's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 is 20. So honestly, he should just Savage and play out the Leper Gnome and Hero Power this turn.
Oof. Greetings thrown out from Zucchini. He doesn't have time for this. He's got places to be, man. He's just saying, come on, Darth Nader, what you got?
I think Darth Nader should just go for it.
Yeah, looks like he is. I mean, I definitely respect this decision. You've got the Roar, you've got the Leper Gnome. Even if your opponent swipes after this, you've already applied so much damage, and yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so
he's gonna need 1 damage next turn because this swipe is spell damage. He's gonna go to 1. He can Hero Power and go up to 2, and Darth Nader's gonna need 1 damage.
His whole board gets cleared though. That's why I kind of liked, you know, because he saw that everything that he had only had 2 health, right? So I would have liked if he Hero Powered last turn and saved his Shade. But the top deck with the Savage Combatant will do it. And looks like the Druid on top will win once again.
Yeah, so I guess that's the correlation, the one on top.
Yes.
It's not gold.
We had mistaken the correlation.
So that is going to be Darth Nader taking it for Tempo Dorm. As we saw last game, who took the first one? Was that Zerk?
Yep, Zerk taking it. So the score will now be 1-1, which is easier. Harder to mess up. Don't have to worry about which is which. We've got Mogatu versus Jeffman next up.
Alright, cool. Yeah, hopefully these players get into the game momentarily. Should be another exciting match, of course. We haven't seen any Shaman or Rogue tonight, or Priests, or Warlock. Wow. We really just stuck to a few certain classes here. So we could branch out a little bit depending on what the players do. We'll see what they bring to this game 3 as the series is 1-1 right now. Who's going to bring the advantage to their team? Will it be Mogatu representing RMU or Jeffman representing University of Wisconsin?
Indeed, we will have to see. Alright, looks like we are getting into game. It will be...
Oof.
Oh man! Warrior versus Warrior. Wow.
Well, another repeat matchup from earlier in the night.
Oh.
But, I mean, sometimes they end quicker than what we saw earlier. We did have quite a match earlier, I will say that. For those of you who didn't see, it was epic. And we went a few turns into fatigue. But the mid game, the early game are still some interesting things to see from Warrior. Maybe not so much the early game, but the middle game turns are definitely the important things that happen in this matchup. And we'll see if one of the players can get a big enough advantage to end it quickly, maybe with a little more tempo, some more mid-game threats. We'll see what happens.
Indeed.
As it does seem like both players are going to be on Control Warrior. I'm not sure if one of them might have some patron aspects to it, but as far as I know, both of these lists have Control Warrior-esque cards so far, as we see Alex Straza, Brawl, Fireworks, Slam, Revenge from Ogatu, and some more Control Warrior cards for Jeffman.
Wow, in an uncharacteristic play, Mogatu decides to equip his War Axe instead of armoring up turn 2.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like this game will not be started off by a chain of armoring up, but instead, uh, Warx first, take care of your Warx and then armor up. Although, depending on his turn 4, he might have just missed out on 2 armor because a lot of the time turn 4 you do just end up armoring up and playing your Fiery Warx as well. So if he doesn't draw something like a Piloted Shredder or an Acolyte of Pain or something to fill in his turn, he might have just missed out on 2 armor here.
Indeed. He did have the Slam, though, so he was maybe thinking of using the Slam and War Axe to kill off something, like an Armorsmith. But, yeah, like you said, the way that it played out, Mogatu missing out on 2 armor, which will forever haunt him for the rest of the game and end up being the deciding factor in this match.
Maybe. It isn't always, but 2 health can definitely make a difference.
Called it.
We'll see if you're right, depending on how this game goes. Jeffman has a tough choice, I would say, here, as he's considering Fiery War Axe, but he does have a Death Spite in hand, as well as an Acolyte of Pain. His hand is getting pretty full, so considering his options, he does decide to go with the Fiery War Axe and perhaps attack his opponent, chip away at some armor. It doesn't go completely to waste, as hitting a warrior for just their HP usually goes to waste because Alex Straza comes into play and puts them to 15 anyways.
Right.
So,
side note, looks like Mogatu was either at BlitzCon or had bought a virtual ticket to BlitzCon, as he has the BlitzCon card back.
oh wow, I didn't even notice. That's pretty great. Jeff Man does have the Legend card back, showing that he is legendary, thanks to his team Tempo Dorm.
Yeah, well, especially in the beginning of the season, you know, especially as it's like school's pretty, you know, heavily in session at the moment. You may not have time to get to Legend by the 11th of the month. So what better way to show your opponent, you know, that you are in fact a legendary player and should not be underestimated than by equipping your Legend card back.
Yeah, I can definitely respect that. We do see a chop to the face from Mogatu's Fiery War Axe, telling Jeff Man that, hey, you know, you're going to hit me with your War Axe, I'll hit you with mine. So definitely keeping the table even here as far as weapons go. And Jeff Man deciding what he's going to do here.
Yeah, with the 2 chunks, actually it still won't quite be enough to get his Shield Maiden out of Shield Slam range, but it'll be a little bit closer. And calling it right now, Jeff Man winning the matchup. Whoever Justicars first wins.
Yeah, Justicar is definitely an important card in the matchup, but I wouldn't, you know, personally I wouldn't say that it has decided the matchup yet. I think we still got a few more turns to see what goes on, and if Jeff Man will really take this for sure. Of course, we'll have the rest of the game, but usually over the turns from like turn 6 to say turn 12 in the Control Warrior matchup are some of the most important turns.
Definitely.
So.
But looking at Mogatu's hand, I don't see anything particularly standing out at me. You know, where he can apply a lot of damage. Sludge Belcher doesn't really do that. He'll have to wait until the Alex, but of course a BGH on the side of Jeff Man. Death Spite, everything else is just kind of reactionary, so far things not looking too great for Mogatu.
Yeah, Jeff Man, just considering all the options here, he did point out that Justicar, and if he plays his 5-drop Sludge Belcher, then he won't have the mana to armor up, which is kind of a big deal now because your armor ups gain you a lot of armor now, so you want to prioritize that every turn. Do it every turn if you can. But if he plays a Sludge Belcher, he wouldn't be able to. So.
Yep, and he doesn't really have a play for next turn anyway, so no reason not to wait a turn for the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, this fits well into curve. Next turn you can belch your armor if you decide to. You could also just use a removal spell, or you could bash along with Death Spite to kill off this Shield Maiden. You could just Death Spite Death Spite once and then armor up and then save your other Death Spite charge, which will kill it off the next turn anyways. There's a few different options you can play out here as Jeff Man. I think I personally likes just using the Death Spite to put the Armor Smith low.
Yeah, the problem here is that you're basically giving away your Sludge Belcher for free, either to the Death Spite or to the Shield Maiden. So, not a particular fan of this play. Obviously, you want to get creatures on board, but really, all you did is basically pay 5 mana to get a 1/2 taunt on the board. Whereas if you use his War Axe, Armored, or he could use the Bash, could have used something. The only concern, of course, is that he felt like it wasn't worth it. But like you said, just hitting it with the Death Spite once and armoring up, and then, this turn, right, he can hit the 5/5 Armor Smith and deal with both of them very effectively.
Right.
And then at this point, playing out the Sludge Belcher would, have an actual body stick to the board that he would have to, throw his Death Spite in or do something to. Leaving him with a 1/2 Sludge, which isn't a lot, but it does make it annoying for your opponent. It allows you to proc your Execute, So.
Yep. We do see Jeff Man bring out the Death Spite now and kill off one Shield Maiden. Probably save the second part of that charge to kill the other. Yeah, seems good to me. Save the Shield Slam for something a little more threatening, or maybe even just the Sylvanas, which would also have the same amount of health, but of course a little bit more threatening than Shield Maiden.
All right, the Alex coming down for Mogatu, essentially not respecting the BGH or the Execute from his opponent, but at the same time he's quite on a clock, since his opponent's the one with the tank up and he's the one with the armor up. So if he doesn't do damage to his opponent now, the longer the game goes, the worse off he's going to be.
Yeah, I like this play from Mogatu, just getting that Alexstrasza out there. He's already got his opponent to 17, so he just wants to end his opponent now before he has enough time to really get a lot of value out of tank up and survive till later in the game.
Okay, I was gonna say sequencing that in the right order and throwing down the BGH. There's potentially a argument for using the Execute instead of the BGH.
I kind of like the BGH though, because you get your 4/2 in play, and there isn't always something nice for a warrior to do. Like to this 4/2, it can be kind of awkward if you don't have a weapon. You don't really want to Execute or Shield Slam a 4/2. You could play another minion just to, block it, like the Sludge Belcher seems good. But
I honestly like just going face with Grom.
Oh yeah? I mean, let's see. Jeff Man's at 21 health right now. If you Grom and go face, he'd be at 17. Or are you saying you would slam the Grom?
Yeah, I would slam the Grom and just go face.
Okay, put him to 11. But I don't know, that kind of sets up for a possible Execute from your opponent, or maybe even
it
a
does,
second BGH.
But in this position, I think it's very hard for Mogatu to win the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though his opponent is at lower health, that if at this point he manages to draw his own Justicar, I would play it slow, right? Because then you're even and you have more health than your opponent. But as long as he doesn't draw his Justicar, I feel like he's under a lot of pressure and, needs to be applying some kind of immediate pressure, at least just to make sure, that his Shield Slams doesn't just take out all your guys for free.
Right. Yep, I agree. Mogatu will probably realize, or he probably has realized, that the long game is in favor of Jeffman right now because
I
of
don't
hero
mind this turn, right? Because he can Grom up next turn behind his guys, so the BGH doesn't kill off his Grom, but Looks like the Shield Slam going onto a Sludge Belcher. Not the greatest value in the world. Another Sludge Belcher comes out. Would definitely like to see that played.
Yeah, definitely an interesting choice there. Usually you would want to save that for bigger priority threats, but I guess Jeff Man might also be thinking the same thing of like, if the game goes long, he'll probably win, but I don't know. I feel like you want to save that Shield Slam for something a bit bigger and more threatening. That Sludge Belcher would kind of just die to Bash and your own Sludge Belcher eventually, so. But yeah.
Maybe he just wanted it to be gone, you know, in one swoop. But one extra armor isn't going to make or break anything. Nice, gets the Ysera pickup, so has a bit more pressure in his hand. I agree here with the Sludge Belcher getting thrown down. And then armor up. Looks like no execute coming out, which is fine. You know, the slam basically takes care of the Sludge Belcher. And his slime will essentially keep the 4-1 BGH from doing anything. Right. Ooh, an Unstable Ghoul.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice nowadays. We haven't seen it too often, but with Patron Warrior falling a little bit more out of favor, Unstable Ghoul is a nice tool to have access to against aggro decks because Control Warrior can often struggle in the early game. So it's something to do early, as well as having a decent impact later. It can enable executes, it can gain you armor with Armor Smiths. You know, it's very similar to Whirlwind. It can draw cards off of Acolyte. It's got a lot of useful effects in a Control Warrior deck. Even though it is a bit underwhelming as a 1-3, and you've already got a lot of small minions, you hope that your big game, or your late game minions will be enough to finish your opponent off without the help of the small ones.
Wow, he's hovering on the execute. I surely hope he's not going to use it. Looks like he's gonna think about tossing out a Sylvanas instead. And the second Armor Smith? No. I generally think, yeah, it would be better if he keeps his second Armor Smith. A Brawl can just, you know, although it will give him potentially something from the other side of the board, it just deals with the Armor Smiths without you really gaining anything from it, so I'd expect him to at least wait for a turn where his minions are attacking something to at least get value from that second Armor Smith. Fun fact, Jeff Man is actually at the perfect 12 health. That is where you can get the extra damage from your revenge. Either what you want or, you know, not what you want, but that's what it is. He's at that exact amount.
Yeah, seems pretty good to me. That could be nice for him later, or maybe if he wants to draw off an Acolyte, that could actually hurt him a little bit. But then again, you don't really want to draw a ton of cards in this matchup a lot of time, as we saw in our game earlier. But we'll see how he decides to use it. Could do a lot of damage to a board depending on what Mogadu has. But usually it doesn't do a whole lot against other Control Warriors. It's the same with these two Brawls in his hand right now. Like, these are not the cards you want in general against other Control Warriors, because they tend not to fill the board with things. Instead, they just have a lot of spells and some early game minions and some late game minions. You know, weapons, of course. So
I don't mind the
not exactly what
second Armor Smith here. You could technically toss that down, put down the Grommash, and then the only thing is Grommash can't go face. So potentially, you know, you want to save the Unstable Ghoul until you could do that. Looks like he's... Oh. I mean, with the Execute he'll be able to do it, but he won't have enough mana to Grom and Armor Smith. So it looks like he's just going to chill out this turn and just get rid of the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, I mean, that seems fine to me. I mean, you don't really want to use executes like, you know, so lightly, but then again, seems like an okay option he wants to set up for these other threats he's got in hand, and yeah. Dr. Boom comes out for Jeff Man. Pretty big monster here, but there is a big game hunter in Mogatu's hand to deal with that, if he so desires. Looks like he will go ahead and use that. I might have considered the Brawl there, actually, because typically Brawl doesn't do a whole lot, as I was saying earlier. And so just using a Brawl against the Dr. Boom to kill off the Boom and leave a single Boom bot. Then he could have played Acolyte and Armor Smith and saved BGH to spot remove a bigger threat later.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, even if Dr. Boom stays, right, he got rid of the 2 Boom bots, and then, you know, they go face or whatever, and then he can play his BGH out, and it's going to be uncontested, which is still a 4-2 on the board. Still has enough mana to armor up as well, so... like, if you're playing a Control Warrior matchup, essentially, you know, Dr. Boom is the target you want to brawl, if you have a brawl. Because, like you said, there's nothing else to brawl, so... And in that scenario, you know, he might not have been able to play the Armor Smith, or... It depends, right? If one of the Boom bots stays up, which is 66%, then he can play out his Armor Smith, and if it doesn't, then he can play the BGH and armor up.
Yeah, and we see Jeff Man deciding to trade 1 Boom bot. That goes ahead and kills off the BGH, and so he decides to leave this other one in play. I think that makes sense. There's a low chance that this other one will just kill off the Armor Smith, so just doing 1 damage to face is marginal, but...
Alright, looking like Mogatu not wanting to draw cards, so going to play it in the Bash Slam instead of the Slam Bash sequence.
Yep, makes sense to me, as we saw earlier. This matchup can go to fatigue, and every card not drawn matters, so...
And similarly here, he's not going to play his Acolyte of Pain either.
Yeah, he's starting really early, or actually, when we're down to 8 cards in each player's deck, it's not super early to skip out on drawing, so... I
oh,
like
wow. It. Yeah, that is very close to fatigue now. Oh, does Mogatu have a Justicar? We're seeing the same situation happen again.
Yeah, unfortunate. But, man. I mean, he's still pretty even in terms of armor. He's got a lot less health. Or Jeff Man has got a lot less health because Mogatu was pretty aggressive earlier on with the Alexstrasza. But Jeff Man will bring out his own Alexstrasza soon to deal with Mogatu's health, deal a solid 10 damage, and if this Dr. Boom comes down for Mogatu, I think that's going to be a surefire brawl for Jeff Man. After attacking for 5, of course.
Yeah, not really many other options here. He could Grom and Armorsmith to kill off the Thorson, which...
I don't think that's too bad.
Yeah, isn't the worst idea? There are worse ideas. You know, not really the kind of commentary you're looking for here. It's like, well, he could just sit and pass his turn, you know, so playing a card is probably a better idea. Yeah, but I like the Dr. Boom play. And like you said, yeah, Brawl's the way to go, but you know, it's also nice because your opponent only has a 20% chance of keeping his Thorson, so you've effectively dealt with the Thorson that turn, right? As opposed to playing Grom, which deals with the Thorson, but leaves your Grom very vulnerable.
Yeah, I like it. Saving the Grom as well, just for that surprise burst damage. Ooh, going for the shield so on face.
Oh, man.
I mean... that would do a lot of damage, right? That would help him to
well, he sequenced it wrong, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he could have done 2 more, you know, then again, if Shield Slam hits face, but... Yeah, Mogatu deciding not to do anything here. I don't know if that's an option for him, though, because his opponent's gaining more armor than he is, and it seems like he's the one who's got to be proactive right now.
He doesn't really... His opponent just drew his Sylvanas. I wonder if he's waiting for that to happen. Because these players are at their last few cards, right? He knows his opponent has a Shield Slam and knows his opponent has a Sylvanas. And with his hand, there's not really any way for him to deal with his opponent's Sylvanas. So I don't mind the idea of waiting it out.
It's like the Alexstrasza comes down for Jeff Man now. Solid 10 damage, as we discussed earlier. Definitely what he wants to start out with here in terms of threats, I think. Can save this Sylvanas for a more opportune board state where there's something he would like to steal, or something like that. So I assume he won't want to take a risk by leaving the Ysera in play when he plays the Sylvanas. Like, he wants to deal with Ysera on site, but it is an option that's left open if he wants to Shield Slam his Sylvanas into stealing Ysera.
I don't have a problem with equipping the War Axe, but
I would actually like to see the Brawl get played here from Mugatu and save the Shield Slam. Just go for the 50-50. I mean, I don't think Brawl's going to get too much better, but then again, if you do play it, your opponent kind of feels free to overextend, so maybe not.
Yeah. His opponent did have a turn of Thorson as well, so you never know. He could have a bit of flooding option.
Yeah, but you can't.
Dead Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, not what you want to see here. You can't really do a whole lot. I mean, Mogatu's got to feel like he's in trouble here. He's got to realize he's behind because they've got the same number of cards in their deck, but he's got like 3 less cards in his hand. So
he doesn't have the tank up. He's got less cards in his hand, and the poor Ysera is just not really safe to be played out. You know, Ysera should be like Murloc Knight. It should have a chance to spawn you another Ysera in hand.
That would be quite something if one of the Ysera cards was actually Ysera herself, and she could just keep chaining into other Yseras. That might be a bit overpowered. Yeah, Murloc Knights can chain into other Murloc Knights though, right? That's pretty sick. But I think if Ysera could do that, it might be a bit too strong.
Nah, nonsense. I don't know what you're talking about. Or like Confessor Paltress into Confessor Paltress?
Yeah, that's pretty good, but then again, she is put straight onto the board. So there's no guarantee that like you use her again, whereas with Ysera going straight to hand, it's guaranteed.
That is fair, for sure.
But yeah, it looks like this is a decent time for Sylvanas. You could bash off the mini bot if you want. You could Brawl as well. The classic combo when Sylvanas used to cost 5 mana. But then again, if you Brawl, you might get the boom bot. So
exactly.
This is a good line of play. He thanks him for his generous donation. This Ysera. That's quite a bit of BM there, as he's already this far ahead, and he thanks him for his own Ysera betraying him.
And getting the Emerald Drake instead of a Laughing Sister as well. The execute does come in time for Mugatu to deal with us, but the damage is kind of already done, you know. He's the one that played the Ysera, got it stolen, and gave his opponent a better card than he got.
Some great attrition being summed up here for Jeff Man. Even though he used multiple cards to get the Ysera, he did get the better end of the deal, as Emerald Drake is a bit stronger than Laughing Sister, even though it doesn't have that benefit of being untargetable. Still trades really well. Armor Smith, a decent option here. Might as well play it now. There isn't going to be a much better time to play it, I think. Yeah, I mean, Brawl could be a little bit scary. Ooh, Jessica Tree.
Oh my god! Third last card again!
Deja vu, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, these... Oh man, these Druid and Warrior Mirror matchups that basically went the exact same way.
Yeah, very similar. They played out really similarly here, but we did see a different result from the Druid game earlier, didn't we? Or actually, the Fel Reaper deck did win again, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Alright, so maybe we will see the Justicar deck winning again. I think
And
there's a
it's
very
the
good
bottom.
chance.
It's the bottom one again.
Yeah, really close to the bottom. Yeah.
No, I mean the bottom. The player I'm spectating is the one.
Oh
that,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's my curse, I guess.
It could be whoever you spectate. But
Now we have to go back and look through all the games we casted, right? And figure it out.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Mogatu's got some crazy threats in here. He's got 2 cards, right? Deathwing and Nefarian could turn the tide here. Or Sneed's Old Shredder, right? That's a really powerful card in this matchup.
Yeah, honestly, seeing this, I really like the Nefarian, right? It can be useful in a lot of situations, you know, giving you more removal for even like an aggro matchup or giving you some kind of armor, like. So I think Nefarian, you know, needs to be added back into these control warriors. That Justicar, though, very sad.
I mean, if you're playing against a lot of other control warriors and slow decks, then Nefarian is pretty strong. But then again, if you're against a lot of aggro decks and you cut something that you want for aggro, that could have a pretty good impact on your matchup there. Like a pretty bad impact, I mean, where you start losing it more, but it definitely makes a big difference. It's like deciding whether or not that big difference, that big edge in control matchups is worth it instead of that little edge you might gain against aggro decks.
I like the idea of tossing out the Acolyte of Pain. It's a 20% chance that it stays up, which also helps with, you know, the probability that your opponent has a card that stays up.
I just don't feel like it affects the risk, or it affects the reward enough to take the risk. Like, it's 25% chance right now that your Laughing Sister survives. That's like the one thing you want to survive, or Armor Smith, I guess. So it's 75% right now that you get a good result because Armor Smith or Laughing Sister are good. If you throw down the Acolyte of Pain, I think it actually decreases.
I think it's fine. Do it. Yes.
Because now it's a 60% chance of a good result. If the Acolyte or the Drake survives, you're unhappy, right?
I'm not that unhappy.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I mean, if you're looking to prevent the worst result, then he took the correct line of play, but he still ends up getting the worst result. So, wow, that is... Wow.
Very unfortunate.
I mean, he was already in a rough spot, and to lose that brawl in the worst way possible. Wow, Jeffman neglects that 3 damage off of Fiery War Axe, throws down the Death Spite immediately. He just wants to get this ground match going.
No, he hit his face with the War Axe.
Oh, he hit his face once. Oh yeah, it had 1 charge left, but he could have milked 3 more damage out of it, but I guess it's not totally necessary as we are in fatigue now. And Jeffman's got to be feeling pretty comfortable with his position.
Indeed. Called it. Person who gets the Justicar wins. I mean, if Mogatu had gotten his Justicar, you know, a couple turns sooner, it might have looked different, right?
Yeah.
Because for a while he was ahead, but you know, the more turns go by where you don't have the tank up, then it just gets really out of hand.
Yeah, Justicar Trueheart and control matchups, drawn out games in general, just has such a huge impact. Because, you know, obviously the more times that you use your hero power, the bigger impact that Justicar had on the game. Like, in this game, Justicar was probably the best legendary that Jeffman played because it's gained so much armor at this point. It can continue to gain him armor even though she's already died. Like, just such a powerful card in the long game.
This is an interesting spot. So, Mogatu can't play his Harrison until Jeffman uses his weapon, which I think he'll have to.
Wow.
I don't think Jeffman
decided not to attack because he probably figures there's a Harrison, or he could also figure there's some mid-range minion he might need to deal with.
Yeah.
But it is a pretty common thing nowadays to hold your weapons so your opponent can't play their Harrison.
I think he just has to.
Yeah.
He knows his opponent has execute. The problem is his opponent's Grommash has 9 health, and there's not really any way for him to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, you play the Harrison, your opponent doesn't have a Grommash enabler. There's probably like no way for Mogadu to know for sure. But, I mean, at this point, it seems like Jeffman really has this locked up.
Oh, I do not like this. I don't mind the Harrison because he knows his opponent hasn't played any executes yet, so I feel like the only way he can potentially win is he leaves his Grommash up clean when his opponent doesn't have a weapon.
Well, then Jeffman could hit it and then execute it anyway, so I feel like...
No, but he would have to play the Harrison, tank the 2 fatigue, and hope that the Grom damage makes up for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure with that line of play as well, Jeffman still comes out on top. Not 100%. We could do all the math, but...
Well, having his own Grom basically kills off that plan.
Yeah. The little play comes out from Jeffman. He's sitting really pretty right now. He probably knows that he's got this. Harrison's just going to get killed off by Grom.
Alright.
Or execute if he so desires, but no cards left for Mogadu. That's going to be a win for Jeffman, and a 2-1 lead for Tempo Dorm. I like it. University of Wisconsin, that is. 2-1 lead, nice.
Very hard fought. Well, actually...
Not as hard fought as the last Control Warrior Mirror.
Yeah, I would say that, but at the same time, you know... it's very hard to screw that up, given that you drew your Justicars so many more turns before your opponent. Like, there's very few ways for Jeff to really screw that up.
Yeah, but no more Warrior now. We didn't see any patrons tonight. Any patron mid-range or anything.
So, following the pattern, we should get a Paladin versus Hunter.
Maybe.
Coming up, we have Purple Cat versus Nikki Cage. I like Purple Cat's name. I'm going to cheer for Purple Cat, both for the fact that it would tie up the series 2-2, and of course, I like cats, and Purple is a very cute name. Although, hopefully he doesn't, you know, dye his cat purple or anything, because that would not be okay.
That would be interesting. I wonder if there's any breed of cat that has ever naturally been purple. Just like purple for...
I'm gonna go with probably not.
Who knows? I wonder if there's been a green cat at any point in history.
Oh, well, green, at least it's easier to get, you know, if you roll around in the grass or something. Purple, you'd have to get like a real...
Naturally green. Just
hey, grass is all natural dye.
But I mean, like, when the cat is like first born or whatever, it's just like starts growing its green fur. But yeah, I mean, it could be green from grass. But we'll get into the game here. We've got Purple Cat on Warlock. Excuse me, Purple Cat on Warlock.
Thank you.
Nikki Cage. Probably based off of everybody's favorite actor's name. Nikki Cage 22, playing Mage.
3 out of 3. Freeze mages, and looks like a Zoo lock here for Purple Cat, and a Fist of Jaraxxus.
Wow. Spicy. I mean, Fist of Jaraxxus, we haven't even seen yet in the CSL scene, I think.
I believe that is the first Fist of Jaraxxus we have seen, indeed.
Yeah, something people have experimented with a little bit on ladder. I know some popular pro players have, and some other players who just want to try the card out. Definitely seeing if it's worth it. I've heard mixed results.
He does get the Doom Guard, though, so...
Yeah, the combo is assembled. If he can empty his hand down to just Doomguard and Fist of Jaraxxus, I think he'll be pretty happy.
Yeah. It's not that unlike... Well, he'll drop another card on the turn on his turn 5, right? That's the only thing.
Another thing is generally Freeze Mage kind of destroys Zoo. That's the way this matchup goes usually, depending on how much resilient board and whether or not Purple Cat has Loatheb in his deck. Those kind of things can definitely have a big impact on this matchup. Also, Nicky Cage drawing his Doomsayers, but we already see he's got 2. He's good to go on that aspect of it. He's probably just hoping to find a Frost Nova now.
Yep, has to wait 2 turns before he can play the combo anyways. So, just gonna ping this turn. Gets out a secret, gets rid of the abusive Sergeant.
Seems like a pretty good play, just trying to stall out a little bit, get the secret up, and Nerubian Egg comes down from Purple Cat.
I would not mind playing the Imp boss now. I feel like later on it's going to be more of an issue. And, you know, the Nerubian you can always play when your opponent plays out the Doomsayer.
I agree.
If it was later, yeah, if it was later in the game, I would definitely say, you know, go with the Nerubian.
Yeah.
But it being this early, and plus Imp Gang boss on 3, you know.
Yeah, it's really strong, and he actually doesn't have a way to enable the Nerubian Egg, so that was kind of a curious play, I think. Maybe he was hoping to draw something to enable it, or maybe he thought he had something in his hand. Maybe he didn't see, but
he can.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, he can't fist his own egg, unfortunately. Ooh, does get the Frost Nova Doomsayer combo.
Yeah, definitely something that is...
Oh, would you... Do you risk the Doom Guard fist? It's a 50-50.
As Nicky Cage here, I like playing the heal bot for now. I don't think the board is that scary at the moment. I would like to stall out one more turn, then Frost Nova Doomsayer, because then you can follow it up immediately with a Flame Strike on the following turn. So that'll like completely and utterly clear the board. And then Purple Cat
minus
will have
the
to rebuild.
egg.
Well, the egg would die from Frost Nova Doomsayer, and then Flame Strike.
Oh yes, the Flame Strike will clean up the egg. Yep, you are right.
Seems like Nicky Cage is really considering the Doomsayer now, though. I think that's perfectly acceptable as well. You don't have to stall out forever with it, and it also prevents like shenanigans like this with the Doomsayer. But does this just
do it?
It's
do it.
Damage, man.
Do it. Aww.
Man, it's so sad that it's random damage. If it was targeted, he could just kill off the Doomsayer, but
yeah.
Unfortunately, looks like he just accepts his fate. He keeps the Haunted Creeper. He thinks the 4/4 is enough. I can definitely respect that. Keeping the Haunted Creeper for a later day when he wants a more resilient board. Maybe just next turn with Argus Haunted Creeper.
Yeah, you don't want to proc anything when you don't have to.
Emperor Theresen, a strong play from Nicky Cage here, because he didn't have much else to do, so drawing that Theresen was definitely helpful. Wrathguard into Argus. And trades the... Okay. This is fine. I mean, you get the Theresen off the board. Wrathguard, you know, it can deal damage to you, which is gonna hurt a little bit, but... Wow. Another Frost Nova. Nicky Cage has got to be happy with where he's at right now. I feel like you might just want to skip this turn. I mean, I guess you could heal bot, but you've got so much removal. I wouldn't want to use it on just 2 minions. Then again, you're taking a lot of damage, huh? He's got Ice Block up, not Ice Barrier. So maybe you do just use a Flame Strike? Wow, it's a tough turn.
Well, unless he's got, let's see, Power Overwhelming, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So with the Doom Guard and a Power Overwhelming, plus a Fist of Jaraxxus would pop his block, but that's a very precise hand that he would have to have.
This is a solid choice, I would say. Frostbolt, you don't always have to save in this matchup. There are a lot of matchups where you're like, okay, I need to save this for my Ice Lances. I need it to hit face. Wow, Soulfire. This deck is aggressive and really wants to discard things.
Ooh. This is rough. Yeah, I think...
Yeah. I like this, just using the Doomguard. Don't risk soul firing. You play your Haunted Creeper and your Doomguard. You can tap next turn anyway. You get your 4 damage off your fist, and that might kill the heal bot, which would be nice. As we know, Nicky Cage has a solid answer to this, and Doomsayer Frost Nova. The question is whether or not he will use it this next turn.
Yeah, the Soulfire is just too risky, so I think this is the best situation you're gonna get with your Fist and Doomguard. And you normally don't expect your opponent to have another set of Frost Nova and Doomsayer. And a Flame Strike is decent, as long as you... If you can Fist the heal bot.
Yeah. Is the Doomguard not in play?
It's floating.
That's what I see as well. I'm gonna leave and rejoin real quick. Floating Doomguard. As we did see, I don't know if you saw on Dog's stream, where he could just put minions wherever he wanted, and then when he attacked his opponent's space, the minions would just stay right in front of his opponent's hero portrait, and it was pretty hilarious.
The game you attempted to spectate may be full or already finished. Ooh, Purple Cat has gone offline. Oh dear.
That's what I see as well. I'm still just spectating Nicky Cage. Apparently, Purple Cat hasn't made any plays.
I will switch over to the Nicky Cage as well.
I wonder what's going on here. We might have some technical issues.
Oh, your opponent has left. Well, that is rather unfortunate. I mean, at the same time, Dorman, right, left in that first game, so that does that count as evening it out?
I'm not sure. We'll have to get this figured out here. Have a discussion between the admins on what's going to happen with this game as we do get that figured out.
Yeah, if that game goes over to Nicky Cage, that will be 3-1 for University of Wisconsin.
I mean, it was looking pretty good for him there, but I mean, I don't think there's a guarantee. But we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if he plays, yeah, I guess it's fine, right? For the Freeze Mage, you know, he has especially if the Doomguard gets played, then, you know, there's not much to be done.
It'll just be a few moments here while we get this figured out. We'll give you guys the official result momentarily. But yeah, I mean, as I was discussing earlier, Zoo tends to struggle against Freeze Mage, even though Zoos of late have Death Rattle minions, resilient minions that can survive removal for at least like one removal spell, like our board clear, like Flame Strike or Blizzard. Those kind of things aren't super effective against them, but yeah. Yeah, we will get this situation resolved. A bit unfortunate there. Like I said, it wasn't looking good though, but...
Yeah, we just want to get a quick confirmation. I mean, I think we're like 90% sure here, but, you know, just want to make sure for the last game before the playoffs, we don't go, oh, just kidding, you know, whatever. Let's just be extra sure. Although it's been going on a while. We had 2 Control Warrior mirrors today. And Freeze Mage games don't go that short themselves either, so...
So once again, this is RMU Hearthstone versus University of Wisconsin Tempo Dorm. We're just trying to get this last game figured out, as it seems like we had some issues. And
I don't feel too bad though, in that both these teams had a DC, right? So it's almost like it's kind of fair in that sense. And in both cases, it looked like the other person had a better hand anyway.
Yeah, like it did seem like there was a really good chance that he wasn't going to win the game anyway, but... But yeah, so just discussing future things. This Friday, I believe, we'll be having some more Hearthstone at C Star League 2 on Twitch. And
yeah, that will be our last set of games before the playoffs. As we mentioned earlier, playoffs will be the top 2 teams from each division battling it out. So... Alright, looks like it will be the game going over to University of Wisconsin. So with that, it will be a 3-1 victory over Robert Morris University. Unfortunately, neither of these teams will be making it to the playoffs, but University of Wisconsin can gain the pride of saying they made it 3rd. So close, almost making the playoffs this season.
Yep, wow. Definitely a bit unfortunate, but did seem like that game was favoring Nikki Cage anyways. So happy we got that figured out, but yeah, so that is a 3-1 victory like you said. And we'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight. As we just mentioned, on Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, we will have more Hearthstone, and that'll be the last day before we have the week off, and then playoffs the following week, like we said. And yeah, we'd also like to thank Blizzard and Twitch for sponsoring this event. Once again, I am at Root Nomodogan on Twitter, and Lucia is at Lucia Fireball on Twitter. If you guys want to check that out on social medias and follow us, we'd like to thank you once again for watching. Lucia, is there anything else you would like to say?
No, that is all. Thank you, us, for joining us, and have a good night.